Probably not, so mind your damn business. What are you pressed about?
Girl, you do you, baby, live it up.
So I decided to watch Reversing Roe on Netflix in order to help me get like a more of a better understanding as to the origins, as to how all of this controversy started to come about in the United States, and kind of hear both sides, of course, from the pro-choice side and the pro-life side, and get a feel for their stances more. I mean, I know my stance, but I wanted to hear the latter. So in watching Reversing Roe, I learned a lot that really infuriated me. Because fact of the matter is, you know, whether it's getting an ultrasound, whether you're getting an abortion, or you're getting a pap smear or a mammogram or something like that, these are aspects of female health care, and I think all of them are equally important. You know, I mean, taking away the right for someone to have an abortion does not mean that they're going to stop. People have always been getting abortions. That's just a part of healthcare. Honestly, it is. And according to the documentary, roughly 1 in 4 women will have an abortion in their lifetime. And for it to be roughly 25% of women, I honestly think that it's asinine that we're still debating on whether or not women should have that right. And for a woman to have that right to get an abortion, for whatever reason it is, if she chooses to do so, I don't understand why that is controversial. Because to have that right, to have that option, means that someone who doesn't want it does not have to use it. Someone who does want it can use it. But to completely take that right away means that nobody can get it. Therefore, only one side is benefiting. Right? So if you're someone who never would ever get an abortion, cool, you never have to. But why take that option away in general? Because of how common it is, you know? And the fact that you can literally get pregnant at any time, you know, and it does not matter. It can be intentional, it can be accident. Getting pregnant does not discriminate between what the intention was. If you want to bake a cake, you need to get the cake mix, you need to get whatever other ingredients, or put it in the oven. You know, if you want to bake a cake, that is intentional. After that cake is made, if you decide you don't want that cake, you can throw the cake away. You can give it to someone else to eat if you want. Shit, if you want to build a house, you need to deliberately get the blueprint for the house, get the land for the house. You need to deliberately get all these things in order to build a house. And if you want to bulldoze that house and get it demolished and have the land stripped away, you can still do that. But with the baby, people are saying you have to live with it, you just have to keep the kid. Like, are you kidding me? Getting pregnant isn't just having something in your stomach. You give birth to that baby. That baby turns into a human, a whole human. If someone is not ready to take on the life change of growing and raising a human to be a productive member of society, why are you forcing them to do that? You know, the whole claim that all life is precious, you know, innocent life shouldn't be taken away, yada, yada, yada. These people are cap. You can't tell me otherwise. They're cap as because to say that, oh, all life is precious, you value life, okay, cool. So what happens when they turn into a teenager and turn into an adult? Do you still care about them that much?
Conservatives are obsessed with the fetus from conception to 9 months. After that, they don't want to know about you. They don't want to hear from you. No, nothing. No neonatal care, no daycare, no Head Start, no school lunch, no food stamps, no welfare, no nothing. If you're preborn, you're fine. If you're preschool, you're fucked.
You know, a lot of these pro-lifers love to say all life is precious, life matters, you shouldn't, yada, 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 keep your baby bullshit, right? But then when it comes to the same situation, when these people are adults, when these people are teenagers, and you see them struggling, you hear their cries for help, what's your compassion like? Is all life still precious to you? Do you still care? People will turn a blind eye to somebody struggling so quick, but then get mad at someone for having an abortion. For what? So as far as abortion goes, you can try to make it illegal as much as you want. That's not going to diminish the fact that abortions exist. People are just going to be doing it in a dangerous way, i.e. the whole coat hanger thing. You know, there were plenty of women throughout history from like the 80s down to shit, anytime prior to that. You know, if they're in a place where abortion isn't readily accessible and they can't access it for whatever reason, for whatever the situation is, they're still gonna get it done. But seeking it out via dangerous means, getting some skeevy, creepy person from an alleyway to do it, get, you know, your friend to do it, try to do it yourself, and these cause a whole slew of medical problems. You take this right away from somebody, that's not gonna stop them from getting an abortion. They're still gonna do it. it's going to be just incredibly dangerous for them to do it, and their lives may be at stake as well. If you care about life so much, don't you want people to be alive? Don't you want people to have a safe environment where they can get their healthcare checked out? And for the people who aren't able to do it themselves, they're just going to be forced to have a kid that they don't want, or a kid that maybe they do want but don't have the means to support it, right? So for someone to come to that conclusion, they thought hard on it. I'm sure they exhausted all their possible other resources and came to the conclusion that this is what's best for them and their personal situation, at least for this period of time. And you taking that right away from them can cause so much trauma on the individual. Now they have to be a mother to a child for a situation at a period of time that they were not ready for.
They're not pro-life. You know what they are? They're anti-woman. Simple as it gets. Anti-woman. They believe a woman's primary role is to function as a broodmare for the state.
You know, say a woman is at the top of her career or heading there. Someone is heading to the top of their career, the top of their education, or the top of their whatever their passion is. You know, a woman is fulfilling her passion, trying to fulfill herself, build herself up as a person, and then she gets pregnant. Some women, they love that. They're so happy that they're pregnant, and they can't wait to embrace motherhood. Great for them. That's amazing. You know, I hope that everyone can reach a period of time where whenever they get pregnant and they are ready for it, they do embrace that wholeheartedly. But there are plenty of people who will be at whatever stage of life that they're at and get pregnant and be devastated. That's not what they need right now. That's not what they want right now. And yes, there are plenty of people who were young parents or had kids when they weren't ready and they made it work. You know, they had one expectation going into motherhood, their whole outlook changed. Yes, that is most definitely possible, but why force that on somebody when that's not something that they want? When it comes to people in general, I don't care what it is. When it comes to people, there is no one size fits all. There is no monolithic story, no monolithic experience that can be generalized for everybody. People should be free to make the choice that they feel is right for them at the point of time that they are ready for it. And in previous decades, I'm not exactly sure which decade, if it was the 80s, 70s, or 60s, or 50s, easily could have been happening throughout the entire span of time. But there were situations where some states were not okay with abortion laws, but they had the ultimatum and the compromise, I suppose, that, okay, you want this abortion so bad, we'll give it to you, but you gotta agree to get sterilized. Just because I don't want a baby about it right now means that you want to take my right away to ever have a baby about it? What? The kind of trauma that can put on a woman is ridiculous. Especially if they already had to jump through 10, 12 other hoops to even get into that room to have that doctor tell them that. And at the end of the day, shit, do you want that kid? You're pro-life, you don't want somebody to get an abortion. Do you want to take care of that kid? Do you want to convince this woman not to have an abortion so you can hold her hand in the delivery room and adopt that kid from her? Probably not, so mind your damn business. What are you pressed about? You're not in her vagina, are you? Probably not. Why is a woman's vagina, why is a woman's womb the topic of conversation for so long? Why does it have to be such a big controversy as to what a woman does in her vagina? It's my body, my choice. My vagina, my choice. What goes in and out of down here is my business, right, as a woman. I should have every right to decide what happens in every aspect of my body, specifically, especially, most importantly, in my vagina.
What's not clicking? What's not clicking?
And for other women who are pro-life, cool. You know, if you're pro-life, cool. Like, whatever your belief for that is, awesome. If you never want to have an abortion, that's great. That's amazing for you, you know? But if you're a person who gets pregnant and you don't want that kid, you should not have to have that kid, because it's not just a baby. That baby is gonna grow up to be cognitively aware of the world around them. That baby is gonna take in the environment that they're in. They're gonna become a product of the environment. They're gonna become a product of the environment that they're raised in and the parents that are raising them. Nature and nurture. But going back to the documentary and what I learned in there, actually, surprisingly enough, it was Ronald Reagan who signed the bill for abortion, and people were able to do it. It was actually the Republican Party that clinged on to the idea of pro-choice quicker than the Democratic Party. But over time, I don't know, I suppose that over time, more and more conservative and I guess more religious Republicans came into office or came into those positions of power. And over time, I guess, the narrative of Republicans kind of switched from being pro-choice to now pro-life. I mean, at this period of time, most people kind of see Democrats as more leftist, liberal, open to a lot of things, and then and also more pro-choice by nature, it seems as though. whereas for the Republican side is more conservative, pro-life, all these things. But initially it was Ronald Reagan, and it was the Republican Party who signed the bill for abortion. And it actually was in New York that the very first abortion clinic was brought out, and it was the first abortion clinic in America for a long time. And then there was a period of time where more and more came in New York and more came in other states, and it seemed as though things were going on a more accepting path. And then over time, you know, these bills got repealed, more people started to be on the more pro-life side, and there ended up becoming this sort of compromise, I suppose, where it was like, okay, we're not going to say you cannot have an abortion, but we're going to make it more difficult for you. So, I mean, essentially it didn't really do too much. It just made it from being an absolute no to a maybe yes, but after jumping through like 30,000 hoops about it, you know what I mean? Like, there were times where people would want to get an abortion and they still had to get the ultrasounds, and the doctors were still telling them like, oh, the baby is this size, the baby, you know, showing them all these things about the ultrasound, about the baby and stuff, to try to sway their mindset another way, trying to basically convince them out of getting an abortion. Now, to a certain degree, I'm not too mad about the idea of them at least still doing the ultrasounds and showing the possible potential mother what the cells look like, because I mean, you know, maybe someone will go into it thinking, I want this abortion, and then after a while be like, you know what, maybe I don't. That part is okay, I suppose. But to consistently make it more and more difficult for a woman to get an abortion, I still do not agree with by any means. And another thing too that I thought was interesting, that kind of goes back to what I said before about just the hypocrisy of it that I didn't agree with, is how actually in Kansas, there were cases in both Kansas and Georgia, specifically Atlanta, Georgia, where there were like religious, pro-life, conservative extremists who went down to abortion clinics and were killing women and were killing doctors.
Pro-life. These people aren't pro-life, they're killing doctors. What, they'll do anything they can to save a fetus, but if it grows up to be a doctor, they just might have to kill it?
How can you say that, you know, life matters, life is precious, all these things, but then go ahead and kill somebody about it? You know, you're upset with someone trying to suck out some cells out of their body because they don't want a pregnancy right now. You're not okay with that, but you're okay with killing somebody because they want to do that? I mean, shit, to me that makes you worse, you know, because for someone to get an abortion, you're trying to prevent a life that has not been born. It hasn't been born, it hasn't breathed, it has no cognitive thought process. Can't even conceptualize what is happening. But to go ahead and kill somebody, a living, breathing person, a functioning member of society, because you're so upset about them being okay with an abortion, I just don't understand how one can rationalize something like that in their head. So that's what makes me go back to the hypocrisy of it. You know, you're so gung-ho on trying to control a woman's body and feeding into this idea that they are immoral, that all of a sudden your actions, your murder is justified. Make it make sense. And there are even people who are like, okay, you want to get an abortion, I don't agree with it, but whatever, I'm just not trying to pay for it, that's why I'm against it. Tax dollars never went towards abortions. Now, things like Planned Parenthood or other organizations like that go based off of government funding or funding from the people or however all that works, abortions were never paid with tax dollars. They were never paid with funding like that. My thing with anything, my viewpoint with anything, is if you are going to have an opinion, make sure that opinion is backed by facts. If Jimmy, Johnny, and Georgia told you one thing, don't listen to it just because Johnny, Georgia, and Jimmy told you. Listen to what they said. If you agree with it, cool. If you disagree with it, cool. But regardless, before you take a stance one way or the other, do your research. Do some credible research as well. Not just on Twitter, not just on Google real quick. No, look at some genuine sites. People love to be confidently wrong, and I don't understand that. How can you get up on your little soapbox and start talking shit when you don't know what you're talking about? Or when you think you have these beliefs and these thoughts, but then your actions do not coincide with your thoughts. Thinking something and then your behavior does not match. Look, do what you do, think what you think, it's whatever. Because at the end of the day, people typically want to come to a common goal. We all usually have the goal that regardless, we want to better humans. We want to progress our society, we want to progress ourselves. They want everything to be progressive, good, you know, move in the right direction, right? But it's just a matter of the different viewpoints and how people feel like we should get there. But that's not always the case. What's interesting to me is that a lot of red states that are like Republican, conservative, yada, 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 those are the main states that are against abortion, right? But also the main states that still have death penalty in their state. So explain to me how that works. Kentucky specifically, in the documentary Reversing Roe, Kentucky was very big on trying to abolish all the abortion clinics in their area and wanting to make their laws as strict as possible to essentially eradicate abortions, period, in that area. But that is also a state that allows the death penalty. So once again, that's where the hypocrisy comes in. That's where I don't understand, because how can you say abortion is wrong, abortion is immoral, you're killing children, you're killing people, it's murder, yada, 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 but then at the same time live in a state where a death penalty is still okay? So you're opposed to killing what's already unborn, what's already has not even taken a breath in the world yet. That's bad, that's immoral. You're going to hell for that, right? Okay, cool. But then when it comes to death penalty, people that are alive, now mind you, they're on death penalty for a reason, they did crimes. Yeah, I get it, cool. But if your idea is that life is precious, it needs to be protected at all costs regardless of the situation, how can one be okay but not the other? You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna say something, if you're gonna have this strong held belief and be gung-ho as fuck about it, it needs to be like that in all realms of the spectrum, you know? Like, if you're gonna be like that, there can't be inconsistencies with your story. That's all I'm saying about it. You know, like, if I say one thing is okay, everything in relation to that must be okay, or else cognitive dissonance will set in. And then you have to either change your behavior or change your thought process to accommodate for the cognitive dissonance that is going on. Now, I'm not saying everyone who is a pro-lifer is a hypocrite. I'm not saying that at all, because to say that would be a big generalization. I don't think much can really be defined as black and white, as right and wrong, or anything can really be monolithic, generalized, one size fits all. I don't really believe in that in regards to anything that has to do with human society, things like that, because there are so many people in this world. We all have different cultures, different beliefs, different perceptions, different upbringings. All these differences, you can't really categorize everything into one. You can split them up, you can create different categories within categories that may apply better, but overall you can't categorize everything. That's just my personal philosophy of it. But I am going to say that I have my stance on it, and I have done a decent amount of research for both sides for me to have this stance. Now, who's to say? Maybe I do more research, maybe life goes on and I change my viewpoint. I don't think so, but who knows, right? But overall, I mean, the documentary was great. The documentary just presented more information and put it together in a way that I hadn't already seen. I definitely recommend this documentary to people regardless of what side of the spectrum you fall on, whether you're pro-choice, pro-life, whether you're somewhere in the middle, you really don't care, or whether you feel like it's situational and circumstantial. Regardless of that, I think that is still a good documentary to watch, so you can at least have more information under your belt. But having said that, I think I'm going to wrap this video up because I have other things to do, and talking about abortion is really just bothering me. But I want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. Feel free, actually please comment down below and let me know what you guys feel about it, regardless of what your stance is. I kind of just want to get a dialogue going and see how everyone feels about the topic, and also leave down some recommendations for what other kind of content you would like to see from me. And yeah, so feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, if you guys really like my content, let me know. It'll give me more motivation to keep posting. I do want to post, and I always have some stuff to talk about. I really don't shut up in the real world. So if you like it, let me know and I'll keep it up. So thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video, whenever I post it.
You do you, baby, live it up.